Hi, welcome. It's another Friday, and it is time for the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carl. Many thanks for tuning in. It's always fun having you around as we look ahead to another exciting weekend of the Premier League. We are gradually inching closer and closer and closer to the end of the season. A few things to be determined: who wins the league, top four issues, relegation issues. We'll discuss a bit more of all of those things on this show in the next hour or so. If you have anything to tell us, send us a WhatsApp message on the number on your screen, 0550-585832, hashtag Citi Sports. We'd love to read all your messages. We'll try and go through as many of them as possible. If you're watching us in Ghana, via free-to-air digital, wonderful. If you're watching us outside Ghana, and even in Ghana via DSTV channel 363 and GoTV channel 182, it's even more wonderful. So many thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure knowing that you are watching and you are part of this conversation on the Premier League preview show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests and we start rolling. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me introduce my guests. I haven't seen them in a bit, but yes, they are still part of the furniture. Ahmed Eduna says here. Ahmed, how are you?
Not bad at all. How are yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. And Emmanuel Nubo says, Emmanuel, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, my range looks good on you too.
Oh God, not you too, not you too.
I just had to put that in there.
All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the fixtures for game week 35. That's what you have there. Newcastle and Liverpool starts us off on Saturday morning with Villa versus Norwich, and there's a very interesting denominator among these two teams. Southampton and Palace, Watford and Burnley, Wolves and Brighton, Leeds United versus Manchester City, another iteration of the Yorkshire versus Lancashire derby. On Sunday, you've got Everton, Chelsea, Spurs, Leicester, West Ham, Arsenal, and on Monday night, Man United take on Brentford at Old Trafford. If you know the Man United story, their consultant, Ralf Rangnick, has a new permanent job. He's going to manage Austria, but he'll still do consultancy. The last time I checked, there's Zoom and WhatsApp calls. You can still give advice over digital. So that's the story coming from Old Trafford. Great fixtures. Some of them throwback fixtures. Liverpool, Newcastle, Premier League Classic, and Aston Villa, Norwich. Every time I think about that game, I think about Andy Townsend. Guys, I'm sure we are very familiar with Andy Townsend, right? He played for the two teams, including Chelsea. So every time I think about Villa and Norwich, I always think about Andy Townsend. All right, guys, let's start off. Let's have a look at the numbers in terms of the Newcastle-Liverpool game. Very interesting and important game this is, because at a point, Man City will also have to go to Newcastle. So Newcastle will have a say, probably, in the title reckoning. Let's have a look at the numbers. There you have it. Newcastle are 9th. Believe it or not, they were 19th at a point. Eddie Howe has turned them around and he's brought them into a very good place on the table. They've won 11, drawn 10, lost 13, 40 scored, 15 conceded. Clearly a lot of work to do ahead of next season, but they look like they will be safe. Liverpool, they are hunting the Premier League. They are second. They've won 24, drawn 7, lost 2, 85 goals scored. Can you imagine? 85 goals scored with 22 conceded. So the attack is great. The defense is even meaner. And they are second. And they are going into that title hunt with Manchester City on the other side. Who blinks, who breaks, who cracks, we'll find out. Those two will dominate our conversation a little later. But Ahmed, let me start off with you. Your thoughts on this encounter? Newcastle looks safe. It looks like they will be very fine after Eddie Howe jumped in and turned their season round. Liverpool are also looking really good. They've got eyes on 4 different trophies. They've bagged one. They say they want 3 more. Your thoughts on this? Some people think that because Newcastle might be safe, they may not give Liverpool tough competition. Some people say that because Newcastle are safe, they can actually attack this game on its merit, that it is against Liverpool and we want to get points.
Yes, I mean, listen, they've played well. They've turned the fortunes around since they appointed Eddie Howe. And it just goes to to tell you the kind of job the manager has done. And for those who think that because Newcastle are safe, they're not really going to come out, and I don't think that will be the case. I think that you have a club with new owners with so much money, and yes, we are no fortune tellers or whatever, but we sort of know the kind of transfers that will be coming to the club, which means a lot of players will be leaving. Now that will play on on the psychology of these guys. do I want to get out of the club, whereas we have new owners with a lot of money? No. Each and every one at the club now want to, show their worth, show what they're made of. And that's why, it's also as to why they've actually done well since they appointed the Howe. Everyone is trying to just prove to a point that I need to be part of the new project that is going to come on at Newcastle. And I do think that, the good thing for Liverpool is the fact that, they are 2 goals good against Villarreal in the Champions League, which is a trophy that they actually want to win. And so they can go out with all the arsenals, just knowing that they are 2 goals to good, and then they can just go out there. I'm a little bit disappointed in the fixture. I think that looking at the Champions League semi-final, I think Liverpool should have been given at least a day more to rest. I don't think it's fair to them. If you can take a cue from the Spanish La Liga, they tend to do that. When their teams are in semi-finals, they give them more days to rest, and I think that's very unfair.
Even happens
Liverpool.
In the French league sometimes.
Exactly, but I think that Liverpool, they have what it takes to take down Newcastle. But my only fear for them is the fact that this is a resurgent Newcastle side who think that they can do more, even though we know they are safe. But then, there's nothing wrong with picking up so many points and then proving to your new owners that you deserve to be at the club. And this is a manager that I think that when all is said and done, he might be given the nod to take charge of the club, when all the monies are coming in. So it's going to be a tricky duel. I do see Liverpool winning a slim margin, but I won't be surprised if it's a draw. That's how good they've been. And I think they're the second team with the most points, behind Liverpool. Ever since the Howe was appointed.
If the Premier League season started on January 1 this year, it would be Liverpool 1 and Newcastle in position 2. So.
Yeah, it tells you how formidable they've been, and I think that their fortunes changed after that away win against Leeds United early January. So I do. It's going to be an interesting game. But I do believe that Liverpool have what it takes. They have a lot of arsenals. Look at their bench. And them, are envious of just because of how good they are and how oiled the machine is, and all thanks to Klopp and his team.
All right, Premier League preview show on Citi TV, proudly brought to you by MozartBet. Visit mozartbet.com.gh for the best odds, biggest payouts, and all that fun stuff if you are a punter. So that's the news coming in. Emmanuel, now a lot of people say that Liverpool have got 3-4 games. There's a certain stretch of games. We'll talk about that stretch a little later, but let's just focus on this. This forms part of that stretch. They go to Newcastle. They are the first team to play, and the dreaded curse of the early kickoffs. Some people think that it may happen. Alan makes a point about Liverpool probably needing 24 hours more to rest because they have a Champions League game to play. Your thoughts on that and where this fits into this, this thing, having to play this game, Champions League. Do you think Klopp will think about it? Will he change the team? What kind of approach do you think he'll give to this game?
Well, I think I'll allude to what Ahmad said, that ideally there should have been some rest for the players.
Okay.
And it happens in all the leagues in Europe, from Germany, France, and all those things. So, yes, and you'd expect Klopp to complain.
Okay.
But
you think that they should have been allowed to play on the Sunday? Or
even if it was a Saturday, maybe 5:30.
5:30.
So it gives them a bit of room to rest.
Okay.
What would be the advantage for Liverpool is that they played at home. If they had to travel and come in, that would have been worse off. But then, if we look at the last, I think 3 or 4 games which Jurgen Klopp has played during this Champions League run, he's done some rotations and rested some key players, and I do believe that would also, come to play in this game against Newcastle. The good thing about Liverpool is that if you look at last season, how bad the season went with all the injuries they had. And you look at this season, that people like Ricky cannot get onto the team, Chamberlain cannot get onto the team, Takumi Minamino hasn't played since, I think, the semi-final against Norwich or so in the Carling Cup. All these players are there, and they are not even getting a sniff. Now, Javier Elliott has had to be relegated to the under-23s. So, you look at the wealth of players they have on their bench, especially with majority of them being fit. I think outside 2 or 3 players, Firmino and 1 or 2, they are fit. That would give Klopp some confidence. Yes, I do think that he'll change the squad. Probably Matip starts this game. Chimikas comes in to give Robertson some rest. The fear, I wouldn't say the fear. The fear on one side is that Newcastle are 6 games unbeaten at home. I think in their last 10 matches, they've won 7. They only lost against Chelsea, Spurs, and I think Everton. That lucky it will be goal. So they've been very, very good. But what Liverpool takes solace in is that I think it's just 1 or 2 games in this season where they've not scored. They've scored the most goals.
Okay.
I think across Europe, 135 goals or so. So I do expect Newcastle to come out to be strong, especially being at home. I would have to give some praise to Eddie Howe. I was one of the skeptical people when he got the job, based on how he set up his teams at Bournemouth and how he played and all those kind of things. But I think he made the right purchases when he came in.
Okay.
Not so much. And I think we should credit him too for finding a place in the squad for Joel Linton. He's more like an 8 now, where he runs from midfield, more creative interplay with the players. And I think we should also give him some credit with Guimaraes. You would think for someone who came in with a lot of money, you would have just thrown him into the starting lineup, but he's kind of taken his time to let him adjust to the game, and he's been really good. So I do think that in the long run, Liverpool having too much in them for Newcastle to withhold.
I mean, aren't you concerned, and like I was asking Ahmed, aren't you concerned that Newcastle will look at their position? We are ninth. There's no way we are going down. So let's just attack this game on its merits. It is against Liverpool at home. We have to try and make a point.
I do believe they'll try to make a point. As Ahmad said, I mean, the new owners in the summer is coming along, and you know that they'll go to shop. Yeah. So if you're a player who is worth your salt, you would want to prove that, okay, you belong to this new era of Newcastle that's coming up. But then Liverpool is chasing the title. They are chasing a miracle called the quadruple. And I don't think Newcastle will have enough to stop them. Yes, it's going to be a cagey game. I expect it to be close. I expect it to be competitive. But if we are going to just oppose Newcastle against Everton, I don't think they'll play dirty as Everton played at Anfield, where they just sat deep, they were ragged, and with all the gimmicks from the goalkeeper and all that.
Self-preservation, what can you do? It's Anfield. You have to try and save yourself.
I mean, I do admire them for that, but I mean, if you're in a relegation battle, you have to balance certain things. And they had, I mean, not to digress, but Everton had some good chances, which I do think they didn't take advantage of. But from Newcastle, I think they have a bit more quality. So if Liverpool are a bit slack, they could get punished. Okay. But all in all, I think Liverpool they'll go into this game being buoyed, especially with how they dispatched Villarreal. Yes, the scoreline really doesn't see how good the performance was. But if you watch the game, it was artistry in motion. I do think they'll be relaxed. They'll go into the game, do the business, and prepare for Wednesday.
All right, we'll see how that plays out. It's the first game of the weekend, Saturday at 11:30 a.m. is Newcastle welcoming Liverpool to St. James's Park. It should be an exciting one. It should be good. The atmosphere should be fun. Now let's move on. Let's talk about another team, or a team that got itself into the relegation scrap while Newcastle went in the other direction. Everton, they are at home at Goodison Park, and they face Chelsea. Yes, I know it may not be exciting, but think about it. Frank Lampard is coming up against his former team. He's trying to survive. Some people say, well, he may get a favour. For Thomas Tuchel, he's trying to prepare for an FA Cup final and all of that. Emmanuel, let me start off with you. This should be a tough one for Frank Lampard. He's not enjoyed his time at Everton at all. But the last time a big team came to Goodison Park was Man United. They lost by a goal to nil. So Everton should clearly feel confident.
Well, they will feel confident. They will feel confident, especially if you look at their track record. I think they are unbeaten in their last 3 at home.
Well, you mentioned Everton's track record. There they are 18th now. Burnley have jumped out. They've won 8, drawn 5, lost 19, 34 scored, 55 conceded. While Chelsea are third, they've won 19, drawn 9, lost 5, 68 goals scored and 28 conceded. So the stark difference is very apparent.
I mean, what will favour them is that they are playing at home, because they have the worst away record. I think in 16 or 17 games away, they've lost about 12. I think outside Norwich, they are the only team who have lost in double figures away from home. So,
wow.
Thank God Chelsea is coming home. Now, if you look at the Liverpool performance, I think outside Liverpool just being too good for them, I think they gave a good account of themselves. Also, in their last games that they've played, I think with Chelsea and I think with Chelsea, they played quite well. The other thing too is that against the big teams, what structure, you're looking at the structure they put out at Liverpool, tends to favour them, where they sit deep and try to counter, just like they did against Newcastle and just like they did against Arsenal too, all at home. So I do think that if Frank Lampard is going to pick any form of points, it will have to start with these games. And I think they'll be buoyed by that performance at Liverpool, where they really made Liverpool work for those 2 goals and those points. And apart from the Origi magic that always tends to come to bite them. But I do think with just following up from Liverpool, the template they set out will be good for Chelsea. The Goodison crowd too will be behind them to make sure that they put in a good performance. But overall, would they survive? It's looking a bit sketchy. But it's actually getting very interesting, looking at the fixtures Leeds also have coming up. But I do think Chelsea haven't been too fantastic. We watched the game against United yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were creating chances. But then you can see that they do have errors in there. You watch someone like N'Golo Kante, who has been seamless for the past 2 or 3 years, and now he's giving away balls. Even the United goal came from a loose pass from him. So if Everton should pick their chances, they would have to do that with Chelsea. Chelsea don't have the full complement of their squad. Kovacic is out. They would probably play either Loftus-Cheek or Kante and Jorginho in there. So they would get chances, but then they would have to be more serious to take their chances. Richarlison would have to up his game. And I think the young chap, Gordon, he really puts in a good shift at Liverpool, outside the dive and some gimmicks he was doing. But he's a threat. He'll be someone that will keep defenders at bay. He will disturb you. So if they should take anything serious, they would have to take their chances because Chelsea have shown that they can be vulnerable. Okay. And they would have to take their chances to get anything from this game.
All right. Ahmed, let's look at it from a Chelsea perspective. In the last month or so, they've not looked like, a team that was once in the title conversation. They've not looked like defending Champions League. They've looked a little flat. They have an FA Cup game coming up. Thomas Tuchel has had to answer questions on Tony Rudiger and his exit. Do you think that they are ending their season well and kind of not around the vibe that they are giving up? Don't you think it might inspire Everton to try and cause an upset, especially since it is Frank Lampard who's managing Everton?
Well, I think I don't give Everton a chance against Chelsea in this game, and not because I feel that, Chelsea are that good or they've been that excellent in the last few games, but I just think that Frank Lampard is not good enough. And I remember sitting down and saying it, the very day the news came out, and I said that he was just not good enough, and he's proving, that he's not good enough to manage any of their top 8 or top 6 clubs. Now the thing is that yes, Chelsea. When Tunji came, one of the most impressive thing about him was the fact that Chelsea was not conceding goals. Okay. And all of a sudden, they shipped in goals. You watch some of the goals that they conceded in the Champions League against Real Madrid. The goals they conceded against Arsenal. No one would have thought that Chelsea would have been conceding goals of that nature. Okay. But I think there's another side of this whole thing that we may not necessarily be looking at. The whole ownership issues with the Ukrainian war and all that, and knowing that they now need new owners and they can't sign players and all that. Yes, we might look at it on the surface, but psychologically, these things come in play. They go against the club, and if the spirit of the club at a particular point in time is not that great, you do see that on the field, and that's basically the same thing with Manchester United that we've seen with the dressing room issues and all that. And so, he formed a very good club, and at the point there was no club that was interested in playing against Chelsea just because it was so difficult to penetrate, and they were taking chances. And then coupled with all the interviews that Romelu Lukaku had ever since, he just looks like a player who's not interested in playing for Chelsea anymore. And I watched the game yesterday, and I tend to disagree a little bit with you on N'Golo Kante. Yes, he gave a loose pass, and Manchester United equalized, but the overall output in yesterday's game was very good. Yes, he looked really very good. I mean, gave a couple of chances and all that. Listen, and I think somehow they are not able to score like they used to, and he would have to sort of have words with his forward, because some of the chances they got yesterday, for example, the game should have been over in the first 45 minutes, and so it's surprising that all of a sudden you have a Chelsea side that has already all of a sudden been blunt in front of goal. But again, like I said, all these factors do come into play. But Everton has no chance against them. They will go down in the drop zone. I think they'll go. They'll go down.
That will make me a very happy man.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. I mean, for we the neutrals, it's not really going to sit down well with us, because we've always enjoyed the Merseyside derby against Liverpool. But it just goes to tell you that decision making in sport now is very crucial.
And Everton have made a lot of very bad decisions. And you watch the game against Liverpool. Yes, we can talk about the fact that they sat back and everything. They had midfielder in Alan who completed only 2 passes in the number of minutes he spent on the pitch. I think he was there for about 60 minutes.
One was from kickoff.
Exactly, and that tells you how terrible the team is, and also goes all the way to tell you that Frank Lampard is not up to the task yet. And I've always said that the experience that Steven Gerrard had from Rangers before coming to Aston Villa is something that Lampard should have taken a cue from. Probably gone to, Scotland or anything. Yes, I do understand that Lampard, Gerrard started on a very good note with his Aston Villa, but all of a sudden, the results are not that good enough. But that experience that he had from Rangers is something that is missing, when you talk about Frank Lampard. And I do think that they will go into the drop zone, and at the end of the day, he'll be out of the club. It's just rather unfortunate that you've seen one of the traditional clubs actually make an exit. And the reason why I'm saying this, even though we have about 4 games or 5 games to go, you just look at the performance of Everton, the past few weeks, and it's nothing good to write home about. If you are fighting to stay in the league, you cannot play clubs and decide to sit at the back. You need to score. If you're not scoring, you're going to be kicked out.
But of course, I mean, there's a place for protecting yourself. And being difficult to break down, and then you go and look for your goal.
Well, let me ask you, what do they have to lose? You've got nothing to lose. I mean, you've lost all these games. Are you now thinking about protecting yourself? No. You're taking a risk. You're going out there, try as much as possible to win games. I've always said this. Listen, when you watch Manchester City play, they look great. It looks like you can score. But for clubs that have been able to come up, put strikers on the central pair. You see, some of the goals that Manchester City concede, you wouldn't think they'll concede those goals. But that is because clubs feel like, okay, let us go out there, put pressure on them and see how good their central defense are. If you don't take the risk, especially where they are now, I mean, they have nothing to lose. Go out there, try as much as possible.
So you feel that Everton should go after Chelsea?
My point is, you cannot, especially looking at the number of goals Chelsea has conceded in the past,
So you feel like there's a chance, there's a bit of a chance?
There's a bit of chance. If you don't risk it, like I always say, if you don't put your name in, you're never counted. If you don't go out there, you don't send your strikers out there, if you don't send your forward out there to, go and tag the central pair of Chelsea, you're not going to make a goal. They'll run over you. You're not going to get a sniff at their goal. So what do? Again, you are in a very precarious situation where, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 8, they're in the drop zone, they're gone. What do? You come out there, you try as much as possible to salvage at some point. Again, teams' forms do drop, and we've seen that in Chelsea. Okay? Some goals that Chelsea have considered the past few weeks, it's not something that we would have sat down here maybe 2 months ago and said Chelsea were going to concede goals of that nature. So what are you going to do? Go out there and get them. There seemed to be a drop in morale in Chelsea. Again, I'll go back to the Champions League game against Real Madrid. When they were leading three goals in Bernabeu, one would have thought that Thomas Tuchel would have managed the game well. And the body language of the players, the goals they conceded against Real Madrid, I mean, there was a lot of question marks, right? And they don't seem to have awakened from that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for
Everton should attempt.
They should just go out there. This is why there's a difference between a coach and a manager. The kind of words you have with your players, the kind of conversation you let them, have with them prior to games like this, especially when you are in this position where you are likely to go down. Those things are very important.
All right. You're still watching the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. I'm Edu Nasser Emmanuel Nubo and my guest. My name is Nathan Carr. Show probably brought to you by Mozart Bet. Visit their site, mozartbet.com.gh for the best odds, the biggest payouts, great things they are doing on there. But remember, not for those below 18, and do remember to bet responsibly. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we have more for you. We'll do some Arsenal West Ham chit-chat. We'll have our debate. We'll do some Fantasy League a little later. All of that happening right after this break on the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is still the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me read some of your messages. This one is from Eric Odum, and he says, he has mixed feelings concerning the Everton-Chelsea game. He wants Everton to survive while praying for Chelsea to finish in the top 4. All right. Takinam Newman Wisdom from Tamale says, there's everything wrong with wearing a Man United jersey to church. Okay, interesting. And he says Liverpool must win the league. If not, the Premier League will become like the French league. I don't know where this narrative came from, that the Premier League will become like the French. Anyway, let's move on. Roland Gambero from Ashaiman says, why is Lampard worrying himself coaching? Said he's not good enough. So he should just quit and do panditry. Come on, that's wicked. That is very, very wicked. All right, let's move on to our final game. Let's have a look at West Ham and Arsenal. They meet in a London derby, East versus North. West Ham are 7th. They are trying to make the Europa League final. They lost 2-1 to Eintracht Frankfurt, I believe. It was Thursday night. They've won 15, drawn 7, lost 12, 52 scored, 44 conceded. Arsenal, they look very good these days. They are 4th. They've won 19, drawn 3, lost 11, 52 scored, same number as West Ham, but they've conceded 4 less. Ahmed, West Ham seem to be in a bit of a fix now. They were targeting it looked like they were targeting the Europa League, but that first leg 2-1 reverse, it will be a bit of a challenge going to Germany to turn it round. Now they need to try and consolidate at least a Europa League spot, but they are playing Arsenal, who look very good these days and want to wrap up 4th spot very quickly.
So this is what I think. If I were in the shoes of David Moyes, it will be that I go all out in Germany. Well, the good thing is that the away goal rule is out. So, if they can win 1-0, they take it to extra time and then, you leave it to the gods and see what's going to happen. So, I don't think they were that bad yesterday.
Okay.
I feel they just need to just add a couple of things and maybe they can take...
Was it lack of European experience? Was it lack of quality?
I think... So, quality played a key role in there. You can attribute it to, yes, lack of European experience as well, just because for most of these guys, this is their first time playing in Europe. But I think that, the performance was not that terrible. It was just one of those, those days where you have two teams who seem to be on par, but then one just decides to take advantage, have a lot of opportunity and take advantage of one and then just get a goal. So I don't think that they were that terrible now. And I don't think that Arsenal are that much better than Everton. We can talk about the fact that, the fortunes of Arsenal has changed over a few months, but they've still lost 11 games. And that also puts, the teams after the 3rd place, club, you need to question them. How has Arsenal lost 11 games and still in the run for top 4, right? So it just tells you that these clubs have not really done well. If you take a look at, the performance of the first two, especially the first two, the number of goals they've scored and the number of matches they've lost. And so, just because, West Ham is not Liverpool, where they can count on so many players, from the bench, they can do a lot of rotation. I think that is where they'll have the issues. And especially having had so many injuries. I think you go to a point where they had only one central defender. I think it was last week, one fit central defender. And that puts a lot of pressure on the manager. Now, what do? Do you try and force, players, into the first 11? Or you sort of try to manage the game against Arsenal? Okay. Just because I don't feel that Arsenal possess that much threats like Liverpool or Manchester City.
Okay.
So they can, they can decide to manage the game. And then next week, Thursday, they decide to go all out. I'll be happy to see them make the European, final, just because I still look back at the fact that Moyes was not given that much more chance as Manchester United. A lot of people can argue that he's a mid-table, manager, but I do feel sometimes you just need to give some of these managers some time for them to show what they're made of. So I'll be extremely glad to see him in the European, the final.
All right. Emmanuel, for Arsenal, they look really good these days. Teams on form, players are performing, they beat Man United, they are 4th, and it looks like they'll wrap up 4th. What do you think when they go there?
Well, I think what would favour them is that West Ham actually are struggling to field a proper back four. Now, Dawson got sent off against Chelsea, so it means he's not available for this game. Kezuma just passed fitness to be able to play against Frankfurt. So you do know that defense is available to be exploited. Now, I think I said this last 2 weeks or last 3 weeks that West Ham is a team that looks very tired. Because at the point they were in a position where they could make top 4 and they were also doing well in Europe. So that battle with a thin squad and all the injuries they've had to go through has really had a toll on them. And I think that's what made a difference in their game against Frankfurt, where a slight lapse in concentration and they play triangles around them, the ball was in the net. So that's where I feel like the problem will be. But right now, you have a better chance. It's just 2-1, no away goals. You have a better chance of making a European final. So I do think that this would favour Arsenal in the sense that they are the team on form. They've beat Chelsea, they've beat Manchester United, who are competitors. I mean, for the fourth spot. So then it puts them in a better position. Tottenham is another team that hasn't had a shot on target in 2 games against Brentford and Brighton.
Wow.
So it looks like nobody actually wants the top 4 apart from them. Because I think 3 or 4 weeks ago we thought, it was Spurs top 4 for the taking. Yeah. And now it looks like it's Arsenal. So they will need to solidify with this performance. Yeah, it's a London derby, but if you look, I think they will have to play Spurs in the last week of the season. You didn't want to go into that game with all your hopes of top 4 hanging on that game, because you also don't know how Spurs will get along before they get to that game.
Okay.
So this is a game that comes at a very good time for Arsenal. They're informed, their squad seems to have gelled well together. Fortunes are favouring them, because if you look at that game against Manchester United, if Bruno had scored that penalty, you'd think Manchester United would have won. So it looks like luck is favouring them to some extent.
Okay.
So this is a game where they would have to go in. West Ham is a wounded animal. Just go in there, kill him, take your 3 points, and then come back and sit down. The good part of it is that they play before Spurs. So if you do your job, it puts extra pressure on Spurs. If you don't do your job, then it looks like that North London derby will be a more tougher fixture to go into. So the way things are looking, they should just go in there, keep to their structure, play their good game. I would actually even give them some praise for how they've actually come along with Partey being injured. They seem to have found some balance with Martinelli and Lukonga. And yeah, they seem to have settled on a squad that is working for them. So just go in there purposefully. Don't try anything funny. Keep a solid team, win the game, take your 3 points, and top 4 is yours.
Right, we'll see. It's a London derby, West Ham v Arsenal. That game is on Sunday, and it's live on Citi 97.3. All right, we'll get back to the fixtures a little later. I'll see if I can squeeze some predictions out of the guys. But let's move on to the other part of the show, or the second part of the show. It's time for the debate. All right, welcome to the debate on the Premier League preview show. Today we're asking a very simple, straightforward question. Who wins the Premier League title? Will it be Man City or Liverpool? Now, we'll base our discussion on the fixtures left. So we'll throw the fixtures left on the screen, and I'll ask Emmanuel and Ahmed who they think will win, or who they think will be Premier League winners at the end of the season, 21-22 season. We'll look at the fixtures, Liverpool, Man City. Man City currently on top. They lead Liverpool by a point. Liverpool are second, and they are going as the final 4 or 5 games of the season. Any points dropped and you hand the league title to the other team, there's just no way around it. So, Ivan, obviously I know what you tell me. Now Liverpool wins, I won't come to you. Ahmed, you have no interest whatsoever in this, but of the two, who do you think will win?
I think, judging by the fact that we needed Manchester City, I think, was it 2 or 3 years ago, to win 14 games consecutively to win the league, and they did it.
Yeah.
See, I'm a bit...
Was that when they beat Liverpool by a point again?
Yeah.
I think that was the 18-19.
Yeah, they had to win. I think, was it 14 or 16 games?
Yeah, I think 12 on the trot.
And they won all. Yeah. But
including the meeting with Liverpool at the Etihad.
That was in January.
That was in January, the Leroy Sané one.
Now, I am tempted to go with Manchester City. The only thing that is pulling me back a bit is that game they have against Real Madrid. Considering how Pep Guardiola wants to win the Champions League with Manchester City. And that, and listen, look, so this is what I would say. I give Manchester City 55% for the
You mentioned that Real Madrid, but do you get the sense that outcome will determine how they approach the last game or the last 2 games?
Let me just say,
because you feel that if they lose interest in the league.
If they lose
psychologically,
it will bring the team spirit down. Now, because Pep Guardiola has said it on several occasions, that one of the reasons why he was brought in is the Champions League. He's dominated the league. I mean, his time, we've seen, trophies is won, the way and the manner they've gone about it. But they seem to have fallen short of Champions League every single time.
Okay.
And in the final against Chelsea, everyone complained about the fact that this guy decided to outthink himself, play a Champions League final without a defensive midfielder. And obviously that was his undoing. And looking at how much money they've spent in the transfer windows, these guys have their eyes on the Champions League trophy. I don't think that, the post-match analysis and the comments, from the players will tell you that they were very much disappointed that they could not have a 2-goal cushion, ahead of Real Madrid. And that will play in their mind how they're going to play, this weekend's game. Listen, Leeds United isn't a team to give Manchester City, any fight. Yeah. But again, this is why psychology is important. That's why clubs spend so much money to bring sports psychologists into their dressing rooms and other things. But again, I am forced to believe that Manchester City has a slim advantage over Chelsea with respect to over Liverpool with respect to the trophy. Because again, let me ask, when does Chelsea play Liverpool for the FA Cup?
14th May.
Would we still have games left?
I'm not too sure. I think after maybe a game. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think the league ends. I think a week after or something like that.
Okay, so the league ends before that final. That final is played before the league ends.
Liverpool also has a game in hand, which is yet to be decided.
Let's just have a look at Manchester City's fixtures. What they have left. So this is what they have left. Now, the last game of the season is on the 22nd of May.
So it's after.
So I think the FA Cup final is on the...
so the FA Cup is on the 14th. So that West Ham game on the 15th would probably have to be shifted. It would have to be rearranged.
Okay.
So
you have it. So Newcastle... Sorry, Man City, they've got to go to Leeds, which will happen this weekend. Then they host Newcastle, and then they end the season by playing Aston Villa.
You know what?
Aston Villa.
I'll tell you what. Now let's do it 52-48. Listen, some of these fixtures.
Oh my God. You have a funny feeling tricky. That some of these games can cause
problems. Very tricky. And let's not kid ourselves. Especially the game against there's a game against Aston Villa, right? After the Real Madrid game.
That's the final game.
Which game?
At the Etihad.
Which game do they play?
So there you have it.
After Madrid.
Yes.
After Madrid, they play Newcastle.
So after Madrid, they play Newcastle.
Yes.
Nathan, as to whether City wins the title or not,
it will hang on that
the game against Real Madrid.
But don't you think that if they should drop out of the champ, don't you think that now the focus is now singular? You know what? Just for the fun of it, let's just win the league.
But Guardiola has won how many EPL titles?
Well, he wants to win
3
more,
right?
4 years.
3 in the last 4.
Yeah. Yes.
This man, I'm not at Manchester City. I'm not in his head, but I can tell you
that he wants the
Champions League.
But don't you think that
cement?
Don't you think that if he loses out, he might want to just have this as consolation? He will look at the Premier League title.
He would want it
next season. We
now
go
let
again.
us look at the psychology when it comes to the players. These guys, the likes of KDB and Co. These guys are old, right? You take a look at Fernandinho and all that. This is basically Fernandinho has already confirmed he's leaving.
Yes.
This will be the chance for them to lay their hands on that European trophy. If they are knocked out by a Real Madrid side that doesn't really look good, trust me, it will do a lot of damage to the confidence and the morale and the spirit of the team.
So you say that this hands for
you should have asked me this question after the Madrid game. Then I'll be able to tell you.
So you're saying that but on Wednesday night,
yes,
by 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m., we'll know whether Man City will win the league.
We will know, yes.
I think I do understand where Ahmad is coming from. And that's why this Leeds game is very tricky. Leeds are, I think, under Jesse March. Yeah. Outside the first 2 games he played, they're unbeaten in 5. Yeah. They've won, I think, 2, drawn 3. Yeah. So now, if you hear the comments,
I think they've won 3, drawn 2. But they are unbeaten in 5.
They are unbeaten in 5. If you hear the comments of Patrick Vieira after that game on, I think, Monday, Vieira is like the coolest person you ever get. He was annoyed by the way Leeds play. Jesse March has made them hard to beat. Now, how would City approach that game? Now, at the back of their mind, if they took their chances against Madrid, that game should have been over in the first half. Just based on sheer chances that they had. So now they are conflicted. Okay. Now what do we do?
But we know Man City's quality. I mean, Man City's quality, they can't go to the Bernabeu and turn up.
But based on what you did at home and based on what Real Madrid have been doing at home, it lives. It's very, how will I say it? It's tensious, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Because if Real Madrid literally came from the dead against Chelsea, came from the dead against PSG. So
Okay, fine. Let's have a look at Liverpool's fixtures because that's where your interest is. Let's see. So Liverpool have got a lot of games to play. Some of them are games in hand, all kinds of things. They've got Newcastle this weekend. Then they play Spurs. A lot of people think that City will also eye this game and say that this is where they could potentially open the gap because Spurs could be a problem.
Game.
Villa host Liverpool. I don't know what Gerrard would do. I don't know. Southampton, Liverpool. So now it means that both Man City and Liverpool play Wolves at a point.
Play Villa.
Play
They
Newcastle.
play Villa at a point. They play Newcastle. Okay, so I think we're looking at City. Let's have a look at Liverpool's fixtures. Those are the ones we want. Newcastle, Spurs at home, Villa away, Southampton away, and Liverpool end the season playing Wolverhampton Wanderers. Okay. And from what we know, from what you are telling us, that Wolverhampton Wanderers game will be after the FA Cup final.
That is
so
an additional game.
There are 2 games after the FA Cup final. Yeah. I just checked. Now, for Liverpool, I do think tomorrow's game is what might actually decide who wins the league.
The game at Newcastle.
At Newcastle. Okay. Because Liverpool versus Spurs, Liverpool at Anfield, we know what's going to happen. Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard will dash it to us.
I just have a funny feeling Gerrard will have something to say about it.
Yes, Southampton, they are not so good now. And I think in the last 3 or so years, Wolves have always finished their season at Anfield and got beat. Now, I mean, if you look at it on the grand scheme of things, it's not about the opponents against Liverpool or Manchester City who will determine who wins the league. I just think it's down to the teams themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
They would have to be either like Manchester City, put in an odd performance like they did against Crystal Palace and drew, or Liverpool go like they went to West Ham, put in an odd performance and got beat, or what they did at Leicester. Those are what will actually determine who wins it. But then what makes it very interesting is the Champions League fixture. And I do really side with Ahmad when it comes to that. Psychology plays a huge role when it comes to players. Not to compare, but look at Aston Villa. Once they realize they are safe, they are not really playing well. They are just going through the motions. Their mind is already at the beach. They are just waiting to go through the motions and end the season. And that could play a huge problem on Manchester City.
Let me help you with this.
But guys, I keep asking this. I'm asking the two of you. Don't you think that, assuming, say City get knocked out, say on Wednesday night, they lose 2-0 or they lose whatever, they get killed. Don't you think that on that flight home, they'll tell them, you know what, next year we go again. The Champions League will always be there. Let's just win another league title just to keep ourselves happy.
That was said last year.
No, there's an animal in Liverpool which has been there. I mean, outside last season, Liverpool is not going to let you have it easy.
Okay.
Now, the other side of it is that...
Let's hold your thoughts. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I take concluding words from them. Then we quickly do FPL and then we try and wrap it up. But this conversation is more intense than I even thought. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Welcome back. So the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. Let me take concluding thoughts on the debate. So Emmanuel, you say Liverpool.
Yeah.
You say Liverpool.
Liverpool next it.
Liverpool to win it. Ahmed, there's still the variable in your equation.
Yes.
That Wednesday night.
You should come back to him.
Yes. Listen. Considering these guys were so close to winning it last season, right? They went to the final.
You think they want to get back there?
Yes. Okay. And if they don't, and they are kicked out, that brings their morale down. All right. Look, I don't know where you're watching us from, but you can continue the debate. Somebody has sent us a message. He says, I think Man City will win the league. This says, even though I don't want Pep to win the title, Liverpool is likely to drop points this weekend. Somebody says Man City to win. I don't know. But what is sure is that Man City and Liverpool themselves will have a say. Possibly some other team will also have something to say about all of this. As for Ahmed, he says Wednesday night. We should come back to him. So I'll call him Wednesday night at 10 p.m. and I'll get his prediction. And then I'll record the call and come and play it off. All right, guys. Let's move on to other things. Now that we are done with the games, let's get into the other bits of the show that I like so much. Fantasy League is not looking good for me personally, but maybe this weekend is when things change and I start to climb up the table. It's time for the FPL zone.
Hi, welcome. This is the FPL Zone on the Premier League preview show, and this segment is important. Like I said earlier, I really need a few things to go my way. I've dropped on the in-house table. It's not looking good. Between January and late March, early April, I had all kinds of things going. So Charlie, it's just not looking good. So I was speaking to the Oracle. He's not around, but he's brought one of his trusted guys to give us a few tips, and I really need those tips. I need my fantasy league back living, because now it's on CPR or is in the emergency room. It's not working. Edwin Kwakofi said, Edwin, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Nathan.
What is the Oracle saying? Because I really need to save my FPL.
The Oracle had a lot of things to say. He told me people are desperate to save their league, so this is the week to do so. Okay. And I've come in with three players you must have for the rest of the season, not just this game, the rest of the season. Okay, First one, of course, Mo Salah. If you don't have Mo Salah right now, what are you doing?
There are people who still don't have Mo Salah.
What are you doing? He's the league's top scorer. He's one of the league's best assisters. He plays every single game, almost 90 minutes every single game. Liverpool creates the most amount of chances per game. Mo Salah is going to get involved if Liverpool have a goal. So Mo Salah is the first person.
Okay. Who's the second one?
Trent Alexander-Arnold, also of Liverpool. Liverpool have kept clean sheets in 9 of their last 10 Premier League games. You have to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, if not just for the clean sheets, the assists and the goals that he might chip in. So Trent is a must-have this week.
So a Liverpool double of Trent and Mo Salah. I suspect Salah is the captain pick?
Absolutely. Okay. Salah should be your captain.
Okay. And who's the third player?
Third person, Reese James of Chelsea.
Reese James. He looked brilliant.
He looked brilliant against United over the week. He might not have picked up the most points, but he got the most touches in the opposition box. He got the most tackles. He's racking up the stats, and he always looked like a goal threat. A few inches to the right, maybe, and he would have got a goal against United. So Reese James is an absolute must-have. Just
a quick one on Reese James and Chelsea. Looking at Chelsea's struggles in front of goal. I mean, they may win by the odd goal, they may get the clean sheet, but in terms of the goals, what if someone is still doubting whether or not they should have Reese James, especially since Chelsea aren't scoring, so who is he assisting?
It's not just about the assisting, but of course, Kai Havertz is always a goal threat. Mason Mount pops up with a goal now and then. But it's the team that they are facing this weekend. They are facing Everton, and Everton are drinking goals. They are leaking goals everywhere. So you can bet on Chelsea getting a few goals. And with the form Reese James is in at the moment, how much he's getting forward, he's bound to be involved if Chelsea gets a goal.
All right, Edwin, thank you very much. So there you heard it. You heard it first. Reese James, Mo Salah, and Trent. Please get those three players, or else your season will not end too well. You may end up in the relegation spot, as some people would experience at the end of the season. Edwin, thank you very much. Let's have a look at the fixtures once again before we head out. There you have it. Newcastle, Liverpool starts us off on a Saturday. There's Villa, Norwich, which is the Andy Townsend derby. Southampton, Palace, Watford, Burnley, Wolves, Brighton, Leeds United, and Man City at Elland Road. There's Everton, Chelsea, important game. Spurs, Leicester, important game. West Ham, Arsenal, equally important for top 4. And Man United, we'll see if at least they can win and make themselves a little happy. They play Brentford on Monday night. Brentford are hot. They are playing well. They are giving teams headaches. Maybe they could give Man United a few more on Monday night. And that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. My name is Nathan Cole. Earlier, you heard from Edwin Kwakofi, the Oracle's assistant in terms of the FPL. Then you heard from Emmanuel Nubuo and Ahmed Edu Nasser on the main parts of the show. Show proudly brought to you by Mozartbet. Visit their website, mozartbet.com.gh, for the best odds and payouts and all the good things they have if you are a punter. We do the show again next Friday. Do have a safe weekend. Take care of yourselves. And remember, the games are live on Citi 97.3 FM and on Saturday and on Sunday. Do have a good one. We catch you next Friday. We do it all again. Have a great weekend.